Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you want to watch one of my silly little shows. Hey everybody, I know it has been a hot minute. Technically it's been 3 weeks since my last episode because the one last week doesn't really count because it was just sort of me checking in and telling you that I was sick as nobody's business post Gen Con. So let's just get into it because I got a lot going on today. Today's going to be a real meaty episode. Which, even though it is, when this comes out today, when this actually goes live, it will be my 47th birthday. So happy birthday to me. Yay! But today, while I'm filming, is actually my mother's birthday. So happy birthday to my mom. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy 3 weeks. So we're going to jump right into it, because I want to be able to, get through the weeks in Bryan, the 2.5 weeks of Bryan. So we'll just do it. Let's just do it. How about that? But before we go there, you're all like, okay, Bryan, good tangent. So the August, or I guess it wouldn't be the August, it would be the July, even though when this comes out, it'll be August 16th. The July comment raffle winner, it's been that long since we've had an episode that I could think clearly and put names into the randominator, is from episode 245. It goes to Seth Cross 2798 or 6. 2796? Seth Cross and some numbers. Congratulations, Seth, and I will be reaching out to you to get your address to send you a box of fun little goodies, some of which actually will be relatively new goodies that I picked up from sponsors while I was at Gen Con. So, yay! Speaking of sponsors, please go to the various things that the various sponsors I put in there. Make sure you use my links or my discount codes because it lets them know that you are subscribers of my channel and that I'm where you learned about them, or at least I'm the reason why you went that direction. I don't get any kickbacks or anything weird, but it does help the relationship with them, and I would like to keep that up. All right, so let's dive in. All right, so the first things first, hobbying. I have been doing a bunch of painting because I am getting ready to run my first, my first non-playtest outside scenario of Intergalactic Heroes, called Heck Divers 2. Which is going to be a heavily miniature based, like I'm going to do very deep into the map and tactical combat aspect of things, and that's going to be at Gamehole Con in October. More on conventions when we get into the work side of things. Where's it going? Oh, so I've been painting a lot. Mostly the adversaries that the Drop Squad commandos will be going up against. But also I painted the commandos themselves because I did announce on the Gamehole Facebook group that I feel like doing special guest events at shows where the ticket prices are a little more expensive because you have kind of a private venue or more private venue, and I hate not. It feels elitist, but I know that they're people are paying a little extra to be at the table with a creator or a designer or a personality or whatever. So I always like to make sure that people have something to walk away with, whether it's a cool, whether it's a cool character sheet packet that's got all their information, or maybe like some kind of souvenir. But when it came to the Heck Divers 2 scenario, I thought that would be the most fitting. I'm gonna sneeze. Ah. Okay. Woo. That'll wake you up. I wanted them to. I thought it would be most fitting for them to be able to walk away with an actual miniature of their character. Seeing that, God, I'm going to sneeze again. I swear I'm not sick anymore. I promise you. Just apparently inhaled some dust or something. When it comes to the Heck Divers 2 scenario, it's a lot. It's a little tongue in cheek. It's a lot of fun, and it's very action oriented, just like the video game that it's emulating. But I wanted people to be able to go home with something apart from just their character sheet. So I went ahead and found some professionally done STL files. I purchased them, so that way it is completely on the regs. And I printed out these drop troops. And then I painted them. So the 5 lucky players who get to play Heck Divers 2 at GameholeCon will actually not only get to play and have a good time and enjoy the session and laugh and kill bad guys and all that stuff, but they will also get to take home their character, or at least their primary character, in the way that I will have extras printed in case they get murdered, because it is a very stylized scenario where they could get destroyed by the baddies. Yeah, so most of my hobby time has been painting baddies and the drop commandos themselves. I'm only running the event once at Gamehole. I am planning on running it again at like GaryCon, I think. So the chances are pretty good. Potentially, maybe at PAX Unplugged. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the chances are pretty good that I may have to paint some more. Because I do kind of want it to be maybe a pretty standard thing, that if you're playing one of some of these scenarios, if I have the ability to do so, I want you to walk away with something. So that's what my hobby time has been. Gaming time, we're gonna cover some of that when I go through Gen Con, when I cover how Gen Con went. But I will say, outside of the stuff that happened at Gen Con, been playing a lot of video games, a lot of Diablo 4 lately. Randomly, me and my buddy decided to jump in, and my son and I have been playing, and just it's a nice late night grind that we hadn't done in a long time. So I've been doing a lot of that. But also, I got to play, just after Gen Con, the new Transformers Robo Rally by Renegade. Thank you, Jordan, for giving me a copy of that at the show. It was so if you like the original Robo Rally, it's got all the same features. It feels very, very similar, but they did a great job of putting the Transformer skin over the top of it. You've got alt mode and bot mode. You've got these upgrades that attach to your character that are not 100% random. Like, you draw the cards and choose which ones you have to spend energon to do it. When you're in bot mode, you actually can shoot in multiple directions because you have a torso. But there are a bunch of cool board elements that let you move faster if you're in alt mode. It's just a really well thought out game. So much so that I actually reached out to Dan at Renegade and was like, hey, if you ever need any spot work to design new bots and upgrades and things for expansions, I'm here for it. So putting that out in the universe for people to hopefully pick up on, that would be fantastic. But that's been most of my gaming. Again, we'll talk about what I did at Gen Con when we get into the review. On a personal level, apart from being sick post-show, which was kind of miserable, everything else seems to be going really well. The contractors are done with the other side of the house. Expensive, but it looks really nice. And more importantly, my wall is no longer leaking. The spot in my roof that was letting the water in has now been re-guttered. It's definitely a step up, and the insurance has done a great job of handling these things. the workout stuff, going to the gym, has kind of tabled out a little bit because while I was at Gen Con, I gave myself a gnarly shin splint, carrying a bunch of stuff and speed walking to the hotel where our events were. I did it to myself. I was hanging out with a TikTok friend that I had never met in person, and we were just talking and catching up, and it was really, really cool to get to talk to him in person and not through electronic gizmos and stuff. But I really cut it way too close to the time that the event needed to start, so I had to hoof it really, really fast to the hotel, and I gave myself a shin splint, which I've never had before. They're very painful. It takes several weeks to heal. And if you didn't know, because I definitely didn't, what a shin splint is basically the ligament, the tendon, whatever, the attachment tissue that holds your calf muscle to the front of your shin has started to try and pull away from the bone. It's not debilitating, like I can walk, everything's fine, but if I put my foot in a particular position, or if I walk too long in a particular got a rhythmic pattern, the front of my leg, the front of my shin feels like somebody hit me with a baseball bat. They are very painful. It has healed quite a bit since Gen Con. I mean, because it's been all of 2 weeks. Sorry. But it does mean that for the last 2 weeks, I've been taking it very easy at the gym, doctor's orders, and just trying to get it to work its way through, taking a lot of vitamin D to strengthen the bone. It sucks. It sucks, and I did it to myself, and it's my own damn fault. But it does mean that I have been easing back a little bit. I'm sure my weight has gone up a little, a few pounds, because I haven't been, hitting it regularly. But those first couple days after Gen Con, when the splint was the worst, it's bad. It sucks. So I wanted to make sure that I do as the doc instructs and take it easy. If it means that I put on a few pounds and then have to work a little harder at it later, that's fine. It is better than doing permanent damage to my leg. So yeah, other than that, kids have gone back to school. One of my kids is a junior now. The other one is a sophomore. It throws me for a loop to think that very shortly we're going to be looking at colleges potentially. I don't know. Connor goes in for the first part of his braces next week. There's a lot going on in the personal life of Bryan. Now, on the good side of things, I mean, that's not bad stuff that I was just mentioning, but it is bittersweet, them getting older, me getting older. Natalie had the opportunity to join some friends of ours on a girls' trip down to Disney. That saved us a ton of money because it was through friends of friends, and it was a kind of a package deal. And Natalie and mine's wedding anniversary is coming up very, very soon. So I basically said, "Hey, here's your early anniversary gift. Please go and have a good time." So I was only home for a couple of days before Natalie got on a plane and head down for the girls' trip. And actually later today, I'm going to go pick her back up. So it was, I'm hoping she's having a good time. She deserves it. She's been through a lot. Her disability case continues. With the appeal, we would just wait. I stopped thinking about it because the more I think about it, the more I get frustrated with the state of Indiana, and I don't want to I don't want to cast negative shadows on Natalie's situation and add more to the stress that she already feels for not being able to work and all of that. So I'm glad that she got to go. I'm hoping that she had a really good time. I know that crowds and mobility issues and things can be difficult for her. So yeah, I'm really hoping that it was a good time and it recharged the positive side of her batteries, instead of highlighting negativity, which is always a bad thing, especially when you're fighting things like depression and ongoing, troubles and such. So I'm just hoping it was a good. I'm hoping it was a good time. I'm hoping that that she comes back feeling smiley and recharged. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure it was. It's Disney. It's Disney. I think that's it for personal stuff. I think so. Work stuff. All right, so work stuff's been crazy good. Starting out right at the beginning of Gen Con, so there have been some ups and downs with some behind the scenes Warzone stuff. Nothing, when I say downs, I don't mean like, oh god, the world is on fire. Just professional hiccups, things that happen in this industry that you've got to roll with it. You've got to figure out how to make amends. And I'm very, very fortunate that Alex, my partner over at Resnova, the Warzone, he is extremely good at asset management. He's very, very practical as to what needs to be done. So I'm glad that we were able to deal with someone else's mistake in a way that it won't impact us being able to fulfill the Kickstarter in a timely fashion. But on a positive note, Warzone stuff, some cool stuff from the playtest has been coming through. I was hoping to be able to show you something today that I am adding to the tournament kit that, if all goes well, knock on wood, that I should start being able to offer for customers probably in as early as October. If everything goes well. The Luna City coins are done and in transit to Kentucky from China. Once they get there, I have to pay the remaining balance on the shipment, and then I will have coins in hand. I have bulk flash drives coming to store all of the data, the various print files and the like for the tournament kit. And then this is new. Very few people know this. I'm having some Warzone Eternal Tournament Organizer patches made, so I can throw one in with each tournament kit as a thank you to people running events. And it says on there Warzone Eternal Tournament Organizer, and it actually has a note on there that it's for the 24-25 season, because my goal is to update this tournament kit yearly in some capacity. Change the missions, maybe alter if we learn something about a special rule, or if something something comes out that we're like, ooh, that's a really good addition to these tournaments, or just maybe the alteration of how things are done. I want to be able to keep that as kind of a living thing. And it gives me a reason to hopefully make new metal coins or different patches and stuff to put into these tournament kits, as long as they sell. Obviously, if they don't sell, I can't. We are a small business. I cannot afford to throw money at things that don't sell. But I think that they're going to. I think it's going to be a good. I think it's going to be a good thing. But if all goes well, that come October, Warzone players should be able to start ordering tournament kits. I'm looking currently, unless things go weird, I'm looking at a price of $25 in the continental US, and that's going to be with free shipping, because I can include that with it'll be a simple package in the US. Outside of the U.S., I will probably have to charge an actual shipping fee depending on where they're going. But the good news is that if it's somebody who, let's say those awesome cats over in Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, I believe what it's called, if those awesome cats decide they want to run a bunch of tournaments and they get a hold of me and go, we want to order 10 tournament kits, I'll be able to cut a huge shipping break by packaging them all together in one thing. So obviously there'll be posts on social media and stuff when it becomes available, and we will be able to figure out all of that stuff going forward. I'll have more concrete numbers then, but things are going well with Warzone. In fact, I did some playtesting very recently of a handful of models that nobody knows is coming or will be coming, and results have been very, very positive. I can't talk much about it because I don't want to get people crazy excited, especially considering the Kickstarter hasn't even shipped yet, and this will be at least after the second wave of minis. So this is going to still be several months down the road, but I want you to know that work is ongoing, and that we are starting to do some of the weird units that people are like, interested to, some of the weird iconic units that initially we weren't really sure that we were going to dive into, but the response for Warzone Eternal has been so good that Alex and I agree that some of the things that we remember and some of the things that we love about the Warzone, kind of the 30-year Warzone family, is some of those iconic pieces that we loved to see on the tabletop. We need to find a way to make that happen. So more on that in the future, obviously. Shadowrun stuff. There is a very, very distinct possibility that I could be going to a professional studio to record a bunch of live play Shadowrun stuff. Details are still ongoing to try and figure out when and how that's going to happen. But if it does, it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm going to be very, very excited for that to come together. More on that as things progress. Wheels have gone forward on the whole novels thing. Still waiting to get the final green light, but now I've had a really good conversation with the head of Shadowrun over at Catalyst, RJ, and I think not only this novel but the next one, we're just going to basically set the dominoes up and we're going to start smacking those words out. But there is also a side thing that I can't talk about yet, that you will hear soon about. That is, I think, is going to be a super, super amazing fun thing, and I am glad that I was asked to be a part of it. So Shadowrun, Warzone, Evil Genius. I will save Evil Genius for last because that's going into Gen Con. I did land a consultation / development gig with the guys over at Zeogenesis, the best hobby company. It's another Andy Chambers game, which is funny because Andy Chambers and I worked together tangentially on the Starship Troopers miniatures game 15 years ago. And now, the future has moved forward, and it's a very similar situation. Andy designed the game, and I'm going to get a chance to help develop stuff afterwards. I love when history repeats itself, and I am very excited to be able to play around with this new system a little bit. The miniatures are already looking great. I got to see some of them at Adepticon last year. And so more on that as it progresses, but I don't want to over oversell it. I am just doing basically playtest management and some consultation, a couple hours a week. But it's nice to be asked to be part of a team and be part of a new project. So always love that. Yeah, so that's pretty much that. And then Evil Genius. At Gen Con, which we'll get into more of the specifics when I talk about how Gen Con rolled out. But we released the open beta document link, which I will put the link for that in the description of the video, to Intergalactic Heroes. Now, obviously, the open beta document, actually, you know what? I'm not going to cover it today. I think next week I will talk way more about the open beta document and the new Evil Genius Patreon, and the different playtest accesses and the things that we're going to be doing with this project, because the Evil Genius team has really we've really figured out kind of I'll say a tentative roadmap, because everything in this industry is tentative until it actually happens. But we figured out roughly how we want this to come together. So yeah, I'm saying it here now. Next week, I will dedicate the episode 247 of Tales from a Professional Nerd is actually going to be specifically talking about the Intergalactic Heroes playtest process, the whole situation, and hopefully how you guys can help. Other than that, we've been working on getting the armory finished, and getting the Patreon up and running. So if you aren't aware, Evil Genius now has an access Patreon that goes from free all the way up to $5 a month, that allows people to get some of the stuff that we were never planning on selling. Things like convention adventures, or maybe some preview materials. You'll get down the road at one of the tiers, I think the $5 a month tier, you get like a free map and virtual token pack. So yeah, it's basically a way for us to keep the community well fed, and keep ourselves accountable to keep creating some of the smaller stuff that keeps injecting attention and love into the systems that we already have. Plus, we have some really cool ideas of things that we want to put out in the that individual kind of spot things that would be very cool as like little individual fun products, but maybe not anything so big and bold and massive as to require a full publication, or be part of a giant book or anything like that. Yeah, I'll put the invite to that, or the link to that, in the description of the video as well. So please go over there, and even if you just join up at like the lowest tier, it'll be nice to get you'll get some cool access to some cool things. All right, yeah. So let's dive in on the first part of this. So this episode's gonna have it's technically got 3 parts. So the Week in Bryan has been almost half an hour, because it's been such a big chunk of time that we've been missing. So we're gonna run through Gen Con, but before we do, you know what? No, I'm just gonna say one thing, because at Gen Con, Alex brought me the actual finished copies of War Stories, the Tales from the Warzone Eternal short story collection, which looks fantastic. The great quality, good the cover's not doing the curly thing. Very happy. It's really well done, with stories by Richard August, Brian Boardman, Chant Evans, J.D. Kennedy, Jake Krzyzewski, Bryan Steele, and David Voderberg. It is going to be available. Since it was a Kickstarter thing. It's going to be available to the Kickstarter backers, obviously. The people who bought it will get shipped to it directly. We did get some extra copies, so at certain conventions where there's a Res Nova booth, you will probably be able to pick up a copy there. But it is never going to be an actual retail product, as far as we know. But he brought me my copies, and then he also brought the extra copies for most of our writers were at Gen Con. So it just made sense for us to bring their contributor copies to them and just give them to them by hand rather than waiting and shipping them to various places around the country. At this point, with the exception, I think Jake is the only one, he didn't make it to Gen Con, so he didn't get his copies yet. Everybody else has their contributor copies, so they are in the world for people to read. Right now, just the writers to read. Or I guess people who are close to those writers might be able to get one of their contributor copies. But I just want to let you know, I wanted to point out that they're real, they exist, they're physical, they're very well done, and I look forward to people being able to read them in the future. So Gen Con, we're just going to run down the day by day. We're just going to go through easy peasy. Wednesday was the Diana Jones Awards. It was set up. It was hectic. It was hot. But I did get to end the night with getting to hang out with Alex from Res Nova and several of his friends, some of which have become my friends. I played my first game of Terraforming Mars. I've never played that board game, and it was a lot of fun. I don't know if it's something that I could do a lot of. It's the kind of game that has so many moving parts that I get a little lost in the minutia, and I find myself not caring about winning and just having a good time, which can throw things off if you start. Like, if you start kind of playing goofy and there's someone else at the table that is really focused on trying to do the right thing and score the points, I basically become a chaos goblin in those games. I'm the worst at it at Settlers of Catan. At Catan, my goal is to own all the sheep, and I never trade them. They are my flock, and I don't care if I only have one victory point and I ruin everybody else's day. I will have all the sheep. So Wednesday was good. It was a nice time. It was a nice way to breaking into the show. My hotel was really far away from the convention, so I had to lift in every day, which gets expensive, but also it means that getting to hang out after hours and stuff sometimes can be problematic. And it does mean that if I've got an event where I need to change a clothes or a costume or something along those lines, I have to bring all that stuff with me early in the morning. Now, the good news is that every day I started the day off at the Evil Genius booth, so I had a place to stash my stuff. But yeah, so overall, it wasn't a huge deal. The hotel was basically just a place where I had to sleep. But it was far away and expensive to get back and forth, and I hope that next year, whether maybe if money is doing well at the time, maybe I'll get my own room, my own Airbnb or something closer, rather than relying on a corporate client to buy me a room that might end up being out in the middle of nowhere. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So Thursday. Thursday was started off the Evil Genius booth. I had a couple of meetings. It was just a generally good time. I picked up the couple of products that I wanted to pick up. I handed out some of those writers' comic books that I was talking about. Had a very interesting conversation with a sculptor. I'm potentially going to do some work for Warzone Eternal. And then I was supposed to end the night playing Shadowrun. I was supposed to be playing Shadowrun on stage and whatnot. And due to, I won't say a miscommunication, because it was not a miscommunication. It was definitely an active choice. There's a new thing happening in the streaming part of the industry, where there's definitely, people in stand-up comedy scenes have dealt with this forever. It's called getting bumped, where somebody who has a bigger audience or somebody who has a bigger following, or maybe a bigger draw to an event, is suddenly made available, and or maybe represents a different aspect of the industry, or whatever the case may be. Someone shows up and is more of a draw, more of a desired presence at the table involved, and other people get bumped to make that stuff happen. And that's actually the case on Saturday, or not Saturday, Thursday. I was told that, and I told you guys that I was going to be playing live Thursday and Saturday. Well, I ended up not being in the Thursday game because some other people were tagged to play in that slot. And I went to the event, and I watched, and they had a good time, and I'm glad that it was well received. It was still a really good event. I really wish I could have been part of it, but this has become the nature of the industry when it comes to the streaming side of things. There are reasons for people to be at the tables that they are being put on, and social presence has a lot to that. Optics is a lot of that. You need to you want to get eyes on those tables. You want to get people talking about those events. So I get it. I absolutely get it. I don't have to like it, but so Thursday night I ended up getting bumped. And then, but I still got to enjoy the event. It was nice. And then, weird as it may be, when that event was closing, the next event was coming into the stage room, and looking at the costumes and stuff we were walking in, I was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And my buddy Devin goes, "Oh, there's a burlesque show coming in after this." And I was like, "Oh, that's funny. My sister does a burlesque show at Gen Con." And then literally, as soon as those words have left my mouth, the next sentence I say is, "And there's my brother-in-law." I got to randomly see, at Gen Con, this madhouse, I got to randomly see my brother-in-law and my sister, because after one event that I was supposed to be in closed, their event was immediately thereafter. So we actually got to pass two shifts of the night, got to say hi to my sister and my brother-in-law, and it was cool. Got to introduce them to a few of my friends. It was a serendipity and cool. I just really enjoyed that. And then that Thursday night, after I wasn't feeling too terribly social industry wise. I was feeling like I sort of just wanted to have a drink and see and pull out a little bit, or recluse in a little bit. But my brother from another mother, Matt, reached out to me. Local playtesters and friends and gamers of mine reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're going to get together and we're going to teach Cassie how to play Magic the Gathering." I have played Magic off and on literally since the 90s. So this was like a fun opportunity, and it was a great time, and had some drinks, played some games, watched as our good friend Cassie, as the wheels connected, and she really started to get how Magic worked, all because of the awesome new set, the Bloomburrow set, because it's got a bunch of anthropomorphic animals doing cool stuff. Some of which not even that anthropomorphic, some of them just straight up animals. But it was a fun evening. It was a great way to close out. And then my buddy David gave me a ride out back to the hotel, so I didn't have to pay for a lift, which was excellent. And then kicked off Friday. Friday was again started off at the Evil Genius booth. Had a business lunch that it didn't pan out to anything, but it's nice to make sure that you talk to everybody and kind of get the thing. Oh, I forgot, talking about business lunches. A Thursday night before the Shadowrun thing, there was the Heroic Signatures, the people who own the Warzone license. They invite us out to say hi, and it's like a little mixer of industry folk. And that was nice. It was nice to see everybody. I like to do that every year. They always have really good food at those sorts of things. But also, it was nice to reconnect with a bunch of... Gen Con is hard to see people. If you're in the industry, if you're not part of a panel or part of an event, or they're not part of your, scheduled routine, it is almost impossible to... There were people that I knew were there that I would have loved to see, even just to give them a high five and a hug, and I never saw them even once because it's so busy and so crazy. So things like the Heroic Signatures mixer is great because I get to actually see people like Meredith and Matt Forbeck and some of the people who I know are going to be so busy during Gen Con. I actually get a chance to sit and talk and share a drink with them and celebrate their wins and lament our collective losses, and just it's just a really good moment. And while I was there, I actually I ran into someone who bought a board game from me 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It was nice to get to see him and chit chat, and we're going to talk in the future because apparently he thinks that there might be something that I can do that they might need. So more on that in the future, I suppose. But it was just really nice. It was a good thing. And Friday was more of the same. That business lunch, like I said, didn't pan out nearly as well. It was okay. Not to say anything against the person who I was having lunch with, person/people. It was just, I think about halfway through that meeting, we realized that there's not a lot we can do together due to outside complications. But we enjoyed our dinner, enjoyed our lunch, and then went off to do our various things. And then, God, I'm trying to remember what I do on Friday. Friday afternoon after lunch with those guys. I don't remember. I don't think I know I was busy. I know I had stuff. Friday was not the big event. Saturday was my big day. Yeah, I could have sworn I did. What was? Oh, Friday. Friday night was the Ennies. Oh my gosh, how did I? Oh, y'all can make fun of me in the comments, please. I forgot that Friday night was the event of the 24th annual Ennie Awards, where I won one. Yep, sheepish, foolish, in fact. Which was great. It was fun to celebrate the other people's victories that were there. It was fun to get on stage for a second to kind of point out, hey, we won a thing. It would have been nice to be able to say some words, but we were instructed based off of time and such that Ben was going to be the only person that was going to be able to say anything, so he did all of our thanks for us. I don't have the actual Ennie medal yet. They only made one for each award, so Ben took that one home, but there are more being made for the rest of us on the team, and they're being sent out to us. So I haven't got it yet. When I get it, chances are pretty good it's going to end up probably somewhere over here. as a to go on display because it's an Ennie. I won an Ennie, and that's huge. That's that. I don't like to brag or anything, but that's huge. I now am officially an Emmy award-winning role-playing game author, writer, designer. That sounded silly when it came out of my mouth. So yeah, that's what I did Friday night, was the Ennies. Which after the Ennie, Natalie came down to the Ennie presentation and stuff, so the ceremony, so that was a lot of fun. But after the Ennies, due to all the walking and things, her feet were chewed up because of the fancy shoes that she brought. My legs hurt because I was, standing and walking all day. So we just went back to the hotel and collapsed. Like there was no post any celebration. There was just, you know what, tonight's the early night. So we went back, we crashed, we were done. And then Saturday was my busy day. Saturday started out at Evil Genius. I had a photo shoot to get some Shadowrun pics done for the filming thing. Saturday afternoon, I had I ran the multi-table Ego event, the Ego role-playing event, the big multi-table epic, Doors and Shadows, which is kind of a end cap to the Season 1 adventures for the Ego organized play system. It went over great. They loved it. It helped because it helped me feel good about what we were doing because I wrote that one. So getting to run, 25 players through the adventure that I wrote, and getting to play MC is always fun. I like to get up and be a ham on stage, so to speak. But we had a good time. I learned a couple of things about the adventure that needed tweaked. One was just a typo that I found and was like, oh, hey, we need to fix that or you're going to kill every single player at the end of Act 1. Which would have been hilarious, but bad for everybody involved. And the ending, the ending to the multi-table really did. It had the impact. It got the laughs. It got the it got the stuff out of the players that I wanted to get. So I know that we're doing the right thing there. I know that it's going in the right direction, and people are going to have a really, really good time with Ego once they get into it and start playing through those assignments. So we made the decision that we are probably going to run it again at Origins. Basically give everybody an opportunity to get those Ego characters played, get people play through the assignments all the way up through Assignment 9, and be ready for next June/July, whenever Origins is next year, to be able to jump into a much bigger version of the multi-table event. So fingers crossed, and if you are at all interested in Everyday Heroes and the Ego, the organized play system, and being a part of an Archer/Venture Brothers-esque role-playing game setup, follow the link in the description to the Ego program, get involved, and get a character started and playing, so you can be ready for the next time Doors and Shadows gets put out, probably next time in next year in Origins. That was the end of Saturday. Saturday night was my Shadowrun game. Was my live Shadowrun game, which I get to play Hollywood, who is my iconic streaming character. He also plays a role in a couple of different novels of mine, and it is. It's always fun to get to play Hollywood on stage. It was I got to play with my streaming crew, like with my the World of Shadows folks, because that's my normal crew. That's the people who I normally get to play with online or on stream. But it was the first time I got to play with KP, who plays Jim Bob Jim, and it was fun. He's a great character. He is amazing comic relief, and a murder machine. I am reminded that I've got a bunch of unspent karma for Hollywood that needs to happen before I go and play him again because yeah, I need to do some upgrades to Port Hollywood. The event itself, similarly what I was talking about on Thursday about how there's new streaming protocols out there, and the way that the streaming business works and live episodes and stuff. I told all of you guys that it was going to be live broadcast probably on Six Sides Twitch, or on Gen Con TV, because that's what we were expecting. Unfortunately, due to the booking of another a D&D live event that involved a bunch of Hollywood stars, a couple of voiceover actors, the main stage that we were supposed to be playing at got booked, and we got moved to a secondary stage that did not have broadcast capabilities. It was disappointing. I am always sad when plans. I'm always upset when plans change at the the end, and I hate sounding like an idiot when I say this is going to be a thing, and then I get text messages later and say that's not a thing. And if it's the worst problems that come out of Gen Con is that the cool thing that you got to do didn't get seen by anybody but the audience. Oh well, that's not a massive problem by any stretch of the imagination. I just hope that next year or next time that these sorts of things get set up, that when people who are involved are told something, that it's actually what happens and that those plans don't change. Because in a similar fashion, a lot of us do have social following. Some of us have YouTube channels that we tell you guys where to find us, what's going on. And then when stuff happens and that doesn't come together, not only do they lose out on that audience, but we lose out on, I don't want to upset my fans. I don't want my viewers to be like, I stayed up to wait for this or whatever, and then it not happen. It's disappointing. So on that end of things, I was a little disappointed in how the Shadowrun lives were managed. From a Gen Con side of things. Some of Catalyst's decisions. I hold no ill will towards Six Sides of Gaming, who was the host of the events. I have no ill will towards Rem, who was the game master of those events. I firmly believe that the additional celebrity powering of some of these events and prioritizing certain celebrities over things is... I don't think it's right, and I think that it is driving a deeper wedge between the people on stage and the gamers, who are the reason why we're doing this. But I digress. I'm not gonna. Me, I like to drive. I'm an engine of positivity, so I don't want to hang on to onto the stuff that rankled me at the time. But we had a great time. It was a great session. Got to do some fun stuff. Tommy, guy who plays Chronostatic, we talked after the event, and we had said that we probably could have just not even had a Shadowrun at all, like no mission. We could have just been up there talking and socializing and kibitzing back and forth for the 2 hours, and we would have been 100% entertaining to the crowd. It's nice to do a mission. It's nice to do stuff in game. The whole reason why we're there, but the chemistry of our 5 characters that were up there, is so strong that we could have absolutely just spent 2 hours, role playing around a bar table, talking back and forth and talking smack, and it would have been great. But it was a great time. We had a blast. It was fun. I had my first, hey Brian, can we get a selfie with Hollywood? It was my first time. It's never happened. I've obviously had people ask to get selfies with me and stuff, but it was the first time I've ever had anyone ask to have a selfie with my Shadowrun character. So I'm blushing now. It was cool. It was neat. And definitely one of the highlights of my show. Getting to play with my friends and then having a fan ask to, hey, can you keep your costume on and point your fake gun at me? Like, it was cool. And I love this industry. I love gaming. I love being a part of that. And that was definitely one of the highlight moments. After that, met up with my friends and colleagues over at Accidental Cyclops, the Surviving Strange Hollow folks, to hear how their playtest went. And we went and got dinner. We had a late dinner, and just to hear how their playtests went and how things came together, and got a compliment from Sean Merwin, one of the lead designers over at Surviving Strange Hollow, one of the bigwigs at Ghostfire Gaming, and one of the primary minds behind Dungeons & Dragons 4th Edition, which I know a lot of people give it grief because it was too much of a change from 3.5 for people to really enjoy. But as an engine, the fourth edition engine was actually really good from just a design standpoint. The rules that Sean made were fantastic. D&D wasn't ready for it. If it had its own skin, or if it would have been applied to an IP that was a little more in line with how those rules worked, I think that it could have been an amazing release. Sean did a great job, and he gave me an hell of a compliment at the table about the quality of my writing in Strange Hollow. I'm not going to reiterate it, because I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, and B, it was a personal moment between he and I. Obviously Jason and Mike were involved as well, but like it was a nice connection point, and it's something that I'll remember for a long time. It means a lot to me when a fellow designer, a fellow writer, comments on my work in a positive or negative way. It means a lot. But the degree of compliment in this instance was, it meant a lot. It definitely put a nice little capstone on my Saturday night. So thank you, Sean. And then Sunday was basically just day at the booth. I technically only needed to be there for half a day. But it was also my chance to, the people who came to Gen Con specifically to see me, I was like, hey, I'm going to be at the booth most of the day, so I got to hang around there. And then that was it. I didn't do any events. I didn't do nothing was Sunday was just basically my socialize at the booth, and enjoy the slow decline of the end of Gen Con, a nice relaxing day, and it was really, really good. That was the day that I got a chance to see several of my TikTok friends, and it always feels nice at the end of that show, because again, it's so busy. Now, I was whooped. My shin splint was giving me all kinds of grief, but it was a nice event. I hopped in my car. Natalie came by, curbside picked me up on Sunday early evening. And then I drove home, and then I get to hang out with my wife and relax, and ice my shin splint. And then it wasn't until Monday that I started feeling kind of cruddy from the con crud. I took my COVID tests, everything came back negative. But I had definitely picked up the funk, and it stayed with me hardcore for about 5 days. It was rough. I was not in a good way. Mostly just like the world's worst head cold. Like I wasn't having a hard time breathing, or wasn't feverish. It was just my head felt like it was full of cement. My voice was toast. And I when I coughed, it was a pretty continual cough. But overall, it was a good show, con crud included. Which again, sorry that it forced me to miss an episode. But you wouldn't have wanted to really hear me. There's a fly in my studio. You wouldn't have wanted to hear me sit there and cough and hack and sniffle and snort the whole time anyway. So I'm glad that we had a chance to wait the extra week so I could give you the Gen Con download, tell you how everything was. You know, it was a great time, busy time, stressful time, ups and downs. But overall, I always loved that show, and hope to be able to continue to go for as long as there is a Gen Con or as long as I am able. But definitely coming off of the curb of being sick myself, please stay safe. Wash your hands. Take your meds. Wear a mask if you feel like you have to. If you're feeling ill, eat this fly. Just, you know, generally, just try and leave every room a little happier than when you got there, and I think the world would be a much better place. Until next week, where we will discuss the Intergalactic Heroes ongoing project in great detail. Have fun, stay safe, play some games. We'll see you next week.